Hello?
Hey, Matty Rowan from Silver Tiger Media. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. How are you?
Excellent, thank you. It's great to speak with you. Thanks very much for your time.
Hey, man, no problem at all. Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
It's our pleasure. Firstly, congratulations on signing with the Nuclear Blast family.
Oh, thank you so much, man. We're excited.
Absolutely, I can imagine. And Awake, what album. It sure has a message or two to deliver.
Oh, yeah, man. Thank you. I'm glad you like it. This is the first feedback we've gotten from just today from interviewers and people that got advanced copies. So it seems like people are into it, which is good.
Absolutely. Is there a significant difference between this album and previous works for the band?
Yes. More significant than any other album.
Really?
This album, musically, lyrically, everything about this is a departure from the formula that For Today has sort of stuck with for the last few years.
Indeed. And can you tell me a little bit about that excellent cover art? The more I look at the art and listen to previous albums, the more I get out of it.
Oh, awesome, man. Yeah, this album art is, I think the image is primarily kind of centered around the band's logo. But the black and white or dark and light sort of cover that we went with, I think, at least the way, I guess I never asked the artist, but the way that it speaks to me is it looks like the sort of transition or the confrontation between good and evil, or light and dark, maybe the transformation or looking from the darkness into the light. And so I kind of like that dualistic view that is presented through the album artwork.
Indeed, and it represents the journey so beautifully well.
Oh, yeah.
Now, you personally finished with Besiege before coming to today. How familiar were you with the band before joining?
Not very, to be honest. I mean, there wasn't much going on For Today. I had never met the guys. They all lived in Iowa, and I was living in Ohio at the time, and that's probably about 12 hours away from them. So I had never met them. Didn't know much about them, but I knew that they wanted to tour full time, and that I needed to be out on the road as well. So I got a one-way bus ticket out to Sioux City, Iowa, where the guys live, and the rest is history.
Indeed, as it were. And it seems that you were very much on the same path right from the beginning, but I understand you had a couple of conditions before taking the lead. Is that right?
Yeah, I told the guys that if I was going to join the band, that I wanted to do a Bible study every day, and that while I was on stage, I wanted to share the gospel. It seems simple enough to tell people that Jesus loves them and he's alive and he's able to save people today, and to spend time studying the Word of God seems simple enough or harmless enough. But those two things practiced every day for the last 8 years of our life have transformed all of our lives, transformed the lives of many people around us, and many people, I believe many people even at these concerts. That's a cool thing to me.
I'm really glad you touched on that, because there's two aspects of this album, and particularly your performances, that I dearly enjoy. And the first is that you are not heavy-handed pushers of faith. It seems more to me that you open the door to Christianity and salvation with your music. Would that be a fair observation?
Thank you. I mean, I guess it depends on who you ask, but that's our goal. I mean, if you ask people on the internet who've never actually been to a For Today show, I stop the music and preach for 45 minutes between songs. But the reality is, I'll preach I'll spend maybe a minute and a half or 2 minutes sharing about our faith, and the rest of the concert is a concert. I've seen guys talk about hardcore or straight edge for longer than I talk about Jesus, but for whatever reason, when I talk about my faith, it makes a big impact, even if I do it in a little amount of time. But I can't force anybody to believe anything.
Of course.
And so we've never commanded anyone to agree with our beliefs or to join our faith or anything like that. But so our approach is not demanding; it's invitational. And we want people to know that because of what Jesus did, there is an open invitation for them to come into a relationship with God if they want it. And they can hear His voice, they can walk with Him and talk with Him, on a daily basis. And if they don't want that, I can't make them want that. But if people have something in their heart that is saying, man, if God is out there, I want to find Him, then the way that you do that is by pursuing Jesus.
I think you've struck a brilliant balance there with your music, particularly because you seem to acknowledge that we're all flawed. There's no us and them. It's not blessed believer, as it were, and sinners being two separate entities.
Yeah. Oh man, thank you. That's the best. That is the best. I love that. That's especially in writing this album, Wake. I was just really. We've written a lot of songs that were sort of blissfully ignorant and a little bit youthfully naive. I mean, we wrote a song called Fearless, and I really love that song, and I don't want to detract from that song for any of our fans who love it as well. But in that song we say we are fearless, right? All the music stops and I scream, we are fearless. But man, if I'm totally honest, that's not always the case.
Yes.
Sometimes I am afraid. Sometimes I'm intimidated or unsure about things. So instead of painting this sort of unrealistic picture of what it is for me to be a Christ follower and pretending like my life is perfect because I believe in Jesus and everybody else's life, if they don't believe in Jesus, is garbage, I wanted to acknowledge that some of the problems that people face, whether they're Christian or not, problems like depression or abandonment or bitterness or loss, that those are not just non-Christian problems, or whatever, that those are human problems. Those are things that we as a collective community of people, those are things that we all face. Yeah. And, I have faced all of those things myself, and Jesus has been the answer for everyone. But I don't want to be so naive as to think that everybody else in the world needs to, that everybody else in the world is going to necessarily agree with that sentiment. And so this album on this album, the way that I wrote it was realizing that there are many people struggling to find hope. And I didn't want to write about it from somebody standing on their pulpit pointing down at them saying, you better find your way out. I wanted to sort of put myself in the shoes of people who are still struggling. I wanted to get back to that place. And I remember and take the time to remember what it felt like to deal with depression, and remember what it felt like for me to be suicidal, and remember what it felt like for me to suffer loss, and to deal with bitterness and anger and hatred and rage. And I wanted to get back into that place and to write about these issues, not from an outsider looking in, but to write from the inside looking out and acknowledge these as problems that we as a human community are still facing.
Most certainly. I hope you'll forgive this.
Sorry about that.
Oh, sorry, my apologies. Just got a slight delay there. I didn't mean to talk over you. I hope you'll forgive this question. It is a little personal, so tell me to piss off if necessary. But was music central to your own salvation? No. You know what was really central to my salvation was philosophy. Right.
As strange as it sounds, man. I was studying philosophy and world religions in college, and was realizing there's a lot of ideas, but not a lot of answers. We're studying ideas in university. We're studying ideas that not even the people who came up with the ideas actually believe are true. It's just a thought,
Yeah.
What if this was true? I don't know. I don't actually believe that's true. What if it was? You know what I mean? And that seemed fickle to me. It seemed like I can't live my life on hypotheticals. Especially in regard to the existence of the universe and purpose for life. There's got to be something more substantial than that. And so, it was that, my sort of rejecting of concepts and my pursuit of answers. Instead, I don't want just a thought. I want an answer. And I was studying Buddhism. I was studying Islam a little bit, studying real heavy into transcendentalism and transcendental meditation, and a few other things, Taoism, and as I was doing that, as I was studying philosophy and studying some of these world religions, reading some books by really famous authors, philosophical authors, I got to the place where I said, listen, I don't want to just study about this stuff from an outsider's view, and without giving you all the gritty details that you don't really need. I came to a place where I simply said, God, if you are real, then you should be able to hear me speaking, and if you are real, I want to know you. I don't want to know what this person said about you and what this person said about you. I don't want to just read old books that about you. I want to know you myself. And it was almost immediate that God began to work in my life and began to show himself to me in a real practical way. He began to break into my reality, and I've never been the same. So, that's when while I'm approaching our message and approaching what it is that we stand for and what we stand on, I really do believe that that faith is not the absence of thought, but that faith is the substance of the things that we can't see, the intangibles, the metaphysical world that can't be approached through reason or sort of some sort of quantitative argument. For example, what is justice? What is mercy? What is love? Right? These things are metaphysical. So, for someone to say that there is nothing in the world that is not physically observable, or the things that aren't visibly observable is silly. Justice is not physically observable, but it's clearly a thing that people can agree on and they pursue. And I think that the same is true for God. And so I know where I stand with my faith, because when I cried out for God to reveal himself to me, he did. And, ultimately, I don't think that I'll ever be able to help somebody study their way into faith. It's not about a academic pursuit. It's about the desire of a heart. So, if there are people out there that are hearing this interview and, feel like there's something in their heart that says, man, I want to know God for real, don't take my word for it or think you need to read more books or whatever, but ask him to show himself. It's really very simple. It's not easy, but it is simple.
It is simple indeed and extremely profound. I especially love what you say about, I don't care about what others say about you. I want to know you. That's the type of stuff that can bring about world peace.
Yeah, right.
Oh, incredible. But look, you also make Christianity so cool. Do you see more peer acceptance of Christianity through metalcore, particularly in the young?
I actually see less peer acceptance of Christianity than we did 8 years ago. When we started the band, especially in the States, I don't know how it was elsewhere, but in the States it was a cool thing to be a Christian heavy band. And you could sing about, I'll never sell out my faith and never back down, I won't be shaken, and all these sort of tough confrontational lyrics. And there were all these band guys who, had Christian face tattoos, cross tattoos on their face, whatever. But they, and I mean, there were lots of bands that we knew that weren't even Christians, but they pretended to be Christians and wrote lyrics that sounded a little bit Christian so they could get on a Christian record label and do Christian tours and play Christian venues and all that stuff, because it was good for business. But it's not good for business anymore. There's really only a small handful of Christian bands still in the scene, and it's because most of the bands that were coming up with us abandoned their faith because it has become costly. It's not cool to be a Christian anymore. It's cool to make fun of faith, and so people are jumping on that bandwagon, and these bands who are Christians are being made fun of, and they're being misunderstood and challenged and mocked, and because of that, it's costly to be a Christian. I mean, we definitely lose fans, and people a lot of times for silly reasons feel a bit alienated simply because they call us a Christian band. But I'm not going to abandon my faith or abandon the reason that I play music just to appease some people. I feel like even if people don't like that I'm a Christian, or don't agree with the fact that I'm a Christian, hopefully they can at least respect the fact that I stand up for what I believe is right.
Oh, beautifully put. And look, the fact is that you do save lives with your music, and for even one life saved, a young life in jeopardy, you should be celebrated. Do you find that there is a lot of stories coming back to you about salvation for young fans?
Oh, all the time, man. I mean, we, just a couple of weeks ago, I was at a concert and had a girl come up with some razor blades afterwards, and she said, I don't need these anymore. I want to be done cutting.
Wow.
She said, I've been struggling with self-harm for 10 years, and I heard your message today, and I just want to be done forever. We've had several people like that, even hearing stories about, I met a young man, last year who said, I was planning to kill myself. And actually, you know what? Here's an even better story for you. 2 weeks ago, there was a boy who this was not a concert with the band. This was me speaking.
Yes.
But he's a boy who was a fan of the band, and he came to hear me speak at a conference at a church out here in the States, and that the next day he went back to that church and he gave them a folded up piece of paper, and he said, "Here, I just wanted to give this to you. I'm not going to need it anymore. Last night my life was changed." And when the pastor called me the next day and he said, "This boy just gave me this note," and on that piece of paper was written this boy's suicide note. He had written his suicide note that morning and was planning to come and see the vocalist of his favorite band for today. He was planning to come and see me speak one last time, and that was going to be the last thing he did on earth. He was going to kill himself that night.
Goodness me. And
decided to continue living because he found hope. He found the strength to carry on through faith that night. So, that's the stuff. While yes, sometimes we face ridicule, that when stuff like that happens, it makes everything else worth it.
Indeed. Well, that's sort of been the story throughout history, isn't it? It's you're going to accept a lot of ridicule, but the fact is you're doing good.
Yeah.
Well, I've just looked at the time. But honestly, Mattie, I could speak with you for hours, and I'd love that opportunity at some point. But I realise you're also pressed for time.
Always.
What's the chances of an Australian tour so we can hear your lovely album "Wake Up" live?
Oh man, I don't know. We don't have anything booked at this point. I'm going to be in Australia next month personally. With some friends. I'm speaking in Melbourne, and I think I'm going over to Sydney as well for a couple of days. But I don't know when the band is going to be back there.
Well, I might have to hit you up for a face-to-face. I think we could talk for hours.
Hey, that'd be great. You just let me know.
Will do. Look, thank you so much for your time today, and I'll let you go on to the next. And travel safely, my friend.
Hey, thank you so much.
Pleasure indeed. Hope to catch you soon.